On today's show, Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers respond to the Aspiration scandal allegations on Media Day and more. Going to be talking about what they said on today's Locked On Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You are locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team, every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA. Been a Clipper fan for 20 years. Been covering the team on my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for 5 and 3 right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know every single time we post a video on the road to 8,000 subscribers. And of course, you can listen wherever you get your podcasts. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about Media Day and some of the things that came out from Kawhi Leonard and crew responding to the Aspiration allegations, as well as some basketball stuff to talk about with the LA Clippers. I'm going to be doing another Media Day episode about the new additions and how they came across on Wednesday. But for now, let's talk about what Kawhi Leonard said in response to being asked about the allegations. Now, of course, Kawhi Leonard has been involved in, this scandal that the Clippers circumvented the salary cap and all this stuff. Now, Ramona Shelburne of ESPN was really grilling Kawhi in the sense that she was asking question and then a follow-up question and then a follow-up question. She was not letting go. She wanted to, she's a journalist. She wanted to get her answer, right? So Kawhi said, quote, I understand the full contract and the services that I had to do. I don't deal with the conspiracies or the clickbait analysts or journalism that's going on. So he said that first. I was laughing that he called it like a conspiracy theory or clickbait analyst or journalist. And of course, Lawrence Frank was also asked about it. And he said, we comply with the rules. We did no wrongdoing, all this. So, the Clippers aren't going to come out and admit that we were in the wrong, that we circumvented the cap, we cheated. That was never going to happen. So they're going to try to give as politically correct of answers as possible. But I was just looking forward to seeing what Kawhi said about it and how he responded to it. But the fact is, the main takeaway is he called it a conspiracy. He was like, it's BS. And then one thing that really caught my eye, though, is he said that he said it's old. He said this is all new to you guys. The company went bankrupt a while ago. So he was like, this is old news. He tried his best to dismiss it. And another quote that was absolute gold. He goes, I'm not sure. I got to go back. Look, he said, I've got to look back at the books. It was more than that for sure. No, but the company went belly up. It was fraud, as everybody knows. If you want to know more details about that company, you need to ask that company or the owner or whoever else is involved. So Kawhi was, his classic stoic self. But I've got to look back at the books is hilarious because she was basically asking, do they still owe you money? And, you're one of the biggest creditors. How much of that contract were you actually paid? How much do they still owe you? And he was saying that they owe him more. He was saying like they owe him more than the 7 million. He said it was more than that for sure. So, so many different stories around. I don't really know what to believe as a fan. I know everybody in the comment section of the latest videos, all non-Clipper fans saying, you're an idiot, you're delusional, the Clippers are guilty. How do you not see it? I'm sorry, man. Until things are proven, I'm not going to come out and say nothing. But, it's just you knew that Kawhi Leonard and Lawrence Frank were not going to say anything besides that. Oh, we're innocent. You're going to Kawhi was saying, and he saying the same thing as Ballmer, like we invite the investigation. He said the NBA, he said we invite the investigations. It's not going to be a distraction for me or the rest of the team. The NBA is going to do their job. So that's Kawhi Leonard talking finally about the allegations. And he basically said, he was asked by Ramona if he ever performed services for what Pablo Torre reported was a no-show contract. And Kawhi said, I don't think it's accurate. So essentially he was supposed to do something or he did something. I don't know. It's just, It's very, very, very interesting. So that's kind of where we're at. Kawhi was very stoic, very professional, and you knew that he wasn't going to give you anything. I mean, Kawhi doesn't usually give reporters or journalists much, you know, but he kept talking about that it was fraud, that it was years ago. And Lawrence Frank said, "We appreciate that there will be a clear eyed look at these allegations, and we are eager for the truth to come out. The assumptions and conclusions that have been made are disappointing and upsetting, and we expect the investigation will show that these allegations are wrong." So that's what Lawrence said. So anyway, I mean, nothing shocking there. You knew that the Clippers were going to do things a certain way and that they weren't going to give up much. That's just the reality of the situation. The Clippers are not going to come out and say we're in the wrong, we're screwed and we cheated. It's just not going to happen. Obviously not. So that's the thing. That's where we're at. That is what the Clippers responded with. Kawhi Leonard calling it a conspiracy, I thought was pretty funny. Calling Pablo Torre a clickbait journalist, I thought was hilarious as well. But yeah, he basically said conspiracies. I mean, it wasn't just Ramona Shelburne that asked, it was also Tamara Zarli that asked. And by the way, I have to get him on the show, but he denied it, essentially. He denied it. He said, "I don't read headlines or do conspiracies, theories, or anything like that. It's all about the season and what we got ahead of us right now. Tomorrow we'll start camp and see what we've got." That's Kawhi. So, that's basically it. Because there were obviously some questions asked at Media Day, and coming up, we're going to be talking about the basketball side of things. But we knew that the most important thing that was going to be asked, or the most pressing thing that was going to be asked, was going to be what the LA Clippers said in response to what's been arguably the biggest story of this offseason, is besides, I guess you can say, Kevin Durant joining the Houston Rockets, because there haven't really been any huge moves. Boston made some moves as well, but this, aspiration thing and the allegations against us, that was going to be topic number one, no doubt, especially in regards to Kawhi. So coming up, going to be talking about the other big question about this Clippers team, the age of this Clippers roster. Going to be talking about that coming up. I got to tell you a little something about FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Week 4 has just finished in the NFL. And right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get 300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. And right now, I mean, looking at the odds for the Super Bowl after week 4, my Rams are 3-1. And technically, we still have the Buffalo Bills leading the charge at plus 420. The Eagles are now in second place at plus 600. Detroit Lions are plus 900. The Green Bay Packers are plus 950, tied with the Chiefs for fourth and fifth. The Ravens are sixth. And then you got the Rams now in seventh, the Chargers in eighth, and the 49ers in ninth. And of course, the Rams and the Niners match up in Thursday night football in 2 days' time, or tomorrow if you're listening on Wednesday. And where can you go to get all this betting goodness? FanDuel. So what are you waiting for? Visit fanduel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is always a great time, Clipper Nation, when we are at Media Day, and that is where we are at now. Media Day, training camp started on Tuesday, and the biggest question being asked about your LA Clippers is about our age, right? We didn't get that many questions, funny enough, like from reporters, and I listened to everybody's press conference, except I still have to listen to James Harden's. But I listen to Kawhi, and Ty Lue as well. But I listen to Lawrence Frank, I listen to Kawhi, Chris, Brad, John Collins, and I'll be talking more about those new additions and what they said and the takeaways that I had from them on Wednesday. But the main question is, are we too old to do anything? I think everybody sees that the Clippers are old. We got Brook Lopez, we got Chris Paul, Bradley Beal. These guys are on the older side, right? And according to, I guess, the internet, we're the oldest team in NBA history by average age over the 2000-2001 Utah Jazz. We're the oldest team in NBA history. But what people are missing, and I know it's a younger league. When you look at the finals last year, you see the Indiana Pacers and the Thunder. The starting point guard and the star players for those teams, one was drafted in 2018 and the other was drafted in 2020. So very young teams, right? Siakam is like considered a vet on that team. And he got drafted in 2016. That Thunder starting lineup, those guys are all drafted within the last 10 years. We got Chris Paul. He was in the NBA back when Hurricane Katrina happened. Some of my listeners weren't even alive when Hurricane Katrina happened. Do those kids know about the Oklahoma City Hornets? Do those kids know about that? I don't know. But that's how long Chris Paul's been in the league. Kawhi Leonard, he's not necessarily old, but he played with Tim Duncan. He played with Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker. He played with Boris Diaw. He's been around the block. Brook Lopez still played with the prime Darren Williams. That's how old he is. So we're older, but what people are forgetting is we're better. Just because you're older doesn't mean you're worse. Because let's be honest, is Kawhi Leonard your average 34-year-old when it comes to his basketball playing ability? I don't think so. Does he have a lot of mileage? Yeah, he has a lot of mileage. He still averaged 25 points a game on efficient shooting in the playoffs last year in a 7-game loss to a very good team. Coming off a torn ACL and a torn meniscus and another knee procedure on top of that. Yeah, so he's not, he might not be SGA right now. He might not be young and spry like, I know he got injured, but like a Jason Tatum. But 34 years old and still getting buckets and having that experience. I think experience does matter too. He's not just like an average 34-year-old. And then you got James Harden. Is he your average 36-year-old? No. I mean, this is a guy who was just all NBA last year at age 35. We always talk about the longevity of guys like LeBron, even Kevin Durant now. We got to talk more about James Harden's longevity. This guy's been an all-star player for 13 straight years. How many guys in NBA history can even say that they've been an all-star caliber player for 13 straight years? He got snubbed in 2023-24 and 2022-23. And the reality is, it's the NBA. There's always going to be guys that don't make the all-star team but are deserving or good enough to make it. And it's always been a thing. In 1970, and I go back there because I studied the years, but I'm just trying to go far back to prove a point. Earl the Pearl Monroe didn't make the all-star team. There's no way in 1970 you can tell me that Earl Monroe wasn't an all-star caliber player. His team was in the playoffs consecutive years. And back then, only 4 teams made it from each conference. So, great players have always missed the all-star game. Ask Trae Young. Ask Damian Lillard. But as James Harden's still been an all-star caliber player for 13 years, unequivocally, he's not your average 36-year-old. He's still a star in this league. So it doesn't matter how old. I mean, it does matter when we're talking championship. But again, I've seen some people say that the Clippers didn't get better. It's like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Do you not know who Kawhi is? And I'll do another episode on that. People are forgetting about Kawhi and the fact that he's healthy right now. Do people not understand you can make all your jokes about Kawhi and not being available, but when he's on that court and he's healthy, it's, for me at least, the way I see the game of basketball, I have a hard time listening to 10 players fully healthy better than Kawhi. I have a hard time listening to it, even now, because he's still just that good. He's still just that freaking good. And as far as James Harden, how many guys are better floor raisers and pick and roll ball handlers even to this day than James Harden at his current state? I don't know how many. And then we talk about Bradley Beal, right? Bradley Beal is 32 years old. So essentially, like, he's kind of exited his prime. That's not that old. Bradley Beal is still a good player. And in my opinion, when you talk about Norman Powell, right, it's not like Norman Powell was super young. Norman Powell's 32 as well. So it's a like for like switch in terms of age with those two. And I've talked about that. I think Beal is more versatile. He can do more things. He can create his own shot. He's an X 30 point per game scorer in the league. And yeah, we're not getting that guy. But if you average 30 points a game 5 years ago, and you haven't had a major injury, he's had injuries. Yeah, we're still talking about a really damn good player there who averaged 17 points on great splits last year. And I'll talk about it more tomorrow, but loved Brad's energy at media day. He seemed so thankful to be here. And that's something else that I want to talk about tomorrow as well, is how amazing it is that players are so hyped to be a Clipper. That's an incredible feeling as a fan who, I remember when Donald Sterling and people weren't hyped and didn't represent this franchise with pride because the owner was a scumbag weirdo. And then you've got the obvious two, Brooke Lopez and Chris Paul. Look, man, there's no doubt that our biggest roster flaw last year, besides maybe a power forward, was the fact that we didn't have a backup center. Say whatever you want about Brooke Lopez being 37 years old. Our starting center is still in his 20s. Ivica Zubac, who is 28 years old in his prime. How many backup centers in the league are better than Brooke Lopez? Because here's the reality of Brooke Lopez. He's been a starter his entire career. He was a starter last year on a playoff team that was the 5 seed. The 5 seed. And now he's coming off the bench. So if you're trying to tell me that Mo Bamba, just because he's younger, or Drew Eubanks is better than Brooke Lopez, like, I don't give a damn that we're old. I would much rather have Brooke Lopez. He's just better at basketball. Do I need to describe why? Shot blocking, skill, whether it be his touch around the basket or his jump shot, the pick and pop threat, his IQ. We got better. And then CP3, we're still getting a guy who played 82 games last season and averaged 9 and 7 to back up James Harden. Chris Paul's only been a backup 1 year of his career, and that was with Golden State, who was a weird fit for him. He still actually improved their record technically, but that was the only year that they didn't even, besides 2021, that they didn't make the playoffs in like the Curry era, like the Curry becoming good, the Splash Bros. I shouldn't say that, in the Steve Kerr era. They didn't even make the playoffs. Was 2022 and 2021, they were the 8th seed. It was just the play-in. They lost those 2 games, very close games against Memphis and the Lakers, but they lost. They didn't even make the top 8 the year with Chris Paul. And I think CP3 was just a weird fit for them. He wants to play pick and roll. He doesn't want to move without the ball much, but that's what the Clippers do. With Harden, we don't really move without the ball much. We don't play a motion offense. We play a more stagnant, just make sure we get good shots to our main guys offense. And especially with the age of our team, we're not going to be playing some crazy motion offense where everyone's running around. Like, that's not going to be the case. Unfortunately, the people who want more motion, it's just who we are. When you have James Harden on your team, you're not going to be a motion team. It's that simple. It's that simple. But with Chris Paul, we have an actual backup for James that can do a lot of what he does, which is create great shots and pick and roll. We had a huge drop-off last season in that department when we didn't have James in the game, and it made us play James Harden so much more than, we needed to play a 35-year-old, and he ended up getting burned out in the playoffs. He did. Now, having CP as a true backup, and he's embracing that role because not only is he back home with the Clippers, the franchise that he helped build up, that he loves, he's with his family. So at the end of the day, okay, I got 20 minutes tonight. I'm used to getting 30. I get to go see my son and go to his games at Campbell Hall. I get to go to his AAU games. I get to go see my daughter play basketball. I get to be with my wife at night. For a guy who's been in the league 21 years, that matters. That's the one takeaway I've had from Chris, is that he's just like so happy to be with his family, which, sometimes we forget about that human side of things when it comes to these players, not being with their families throughout the year. I remember, funny enough, because I coach at a school. I'm not going to say what school. I think some people know, but I coach at a school, and when Chris Paul's son was in 8th grade, he played against us, Campbell Hall, but I wasn't the coach of that team. I was the 6th grade coach at the time. And I remember sitting in the gym, and I think Jada Paul was, I don't even think Jada Paul was there. Zuri James, LeBron's daughter, came and watched with like some other people that were probably his family, but his dad's not there. His mom's not there. That sucks for a 13-year-old kid. His parents aren't in the stands. Like, I know some other kids have probably felt that too for different reasons, but that kind of sucks. And so now Chris Paul gets that. So him coming off the bench is not going to be a problem. It's actually going to be great. Would you rather have Kevin Porter Jr. or Chris Paul as your backup? I think that's for me, it's Chris Paul. He's still solid, man. He's still so skilled. And it's just amazing he's lasted this long. So, moral of the story, just because we're older doesn't mean we're not better. If anyone thinks the Clippers are worse this year, as far as on paper, you're delusional. And I think on the court, it's going to translate very well. And coming up, going to be talking about the biggest thing that this aspiration scandal is taking us away from. I got to tell you a little something about Monarch money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. And Monarch is built for people with busy lives like myself. If you put off organizing your finances, which I did for many months after the fires, because I was just so in like a different dimension, to be honest with you, and I realized how much stuff I was paying for that I didn't need to. I got refunded some stuff. I cleaned up my finances, and I feel like I've been spending so much less money because of that. And Monarch Money has helped me realize that, because Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNBA. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to say, there's been a lot of episodes that I've made about Aspiration, the scandal, because it's the talk of the town, and this is a Clippers podcast 5 days a week. And in the dog days of the off season, you're struggling to find topics to talk about. This is, a layup for me content wise, but it's also kind of complicated with all the financial jargon and stuff that I don't understand. So, I know some people are sick of hearing about it, but it's relevant news. And I would be not doing my job correctly if I didn't try to, you know, talk about the relevant news. And also for those people that are like, this is the most coping I've ever seen. It's like, do you really want me as not just a fan of this team, but as a host of this show, when my audience is primarily Clipper fans, to just say, yeah, we're guilty. Let's talk about something else. Like, respectfully, hell no. Why would I do that? I'm not like, I'm still going to go to bat for my squad. Like, until you actually give me proof, not circumstantial evidence that, yo, you're so delusional if you don't think they did anything. Dude, go somewhere else. Like, I don't give a damn what you think. You're not a Clipper fan. So screw you. It's always been Clippers versus the world. So I'm going to stand on business and report the facts, which are that we don't have a verdict yet. So I'm going to give both sides of the coin. And you damn sure better believe I'm going to give the side of the Clippers' innocence too, because this show is still primarily for Clipper fans, and we're not just trying to hear, oh, we're screwed. Like, dude, I can't please everyone, but all I care about is Clipper fans, and they don't even always like what I say. But here's the thing. Don't let the fact that we're in an investigation distract you from the fact that there's still basketball to be played. And the chances are they're not going to find a verdict till somewhere midway through the season, which you know what that means? Kawhi Leonard is not getting suspended. He's going to be on the court on opening night, barring any injury. And that is important. That is cause for other teams to still respect. Because here's the thing. People love to talk trash about Kawhi Leonard not playing. And you know what? It's somewhat warranted. He's very unavailable. But when that dude is playing, 90% of the time, opposing teams' fans are seeing him. They're like, damn, when Kawhi's healthy, he's so good. Yeah, because he is. He is one of the best small forwards to ever play this game. And the Clippers maybe, you know, did extreme things just to sign him for a reason. So the reality is, okay, this aspiration stuff's going on. The investigation's going on. The Utah Jazz, you're going to see Kawhi Leonard on opening night with this really stacked roster that we have. And Lawrence Frank said it best, 1 through 11. Bogey's hurt, but 1 through 10 now. We're as deep as it gets, maybe the deepest team in the history of this franchise. And people are neglecting that because we're older. And of course, we're not, to me, a real championship contender because we are a little too old. And there's guys on the team that there's major question marks about at that level. But in terms of being in the mix, in terms of being, a team that was fifth last year and we got better, yeah, we're getting slept on. These allegations are distracting people from the fact that Kawhi Leonard's healthy. He only played 37 games last year. Do people understand what 60 games of Kawhi means? And we already won 50. No, they don't. They forget. Every time Kawhi has to remind everybody that he's still a good basketball player, a great basketball player. So, let other people talk. Let other people talk about this scandal. And, I'm going to make some episodes on it. Yeah. But when it gets to 2-3 weeks before the season, which we're about to get to that point, well, we're going to be talking about basketball. And then when the season starts, it's not going to be about aspiration and their scandal. It's going to be about how the Clippers are doing on the court, and Kawhi Leonard's going to be on that court most of the time. But yeah, we're a better roster than last year. We'll go through the in-depth parts of why, and I've already done that throughout the summer as well. But as we get closer, more quotes are going to come out. We're going to have preseason. But dude, we're stacked. If I were a fan of another team, I would be interested in what we're doing this year because there's a lot of new faces. So Kawhi Leonard being healthy is massive when we won 50 games with James Harden as our best player in 2025. It's massive. And as Ty Lue said on the Club Shay Shay podcast, it's going to cause us to play a different way through our best player from day one, and that matters. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Dime Dropper Pod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more LA Clipper, NBA, and LA sports content. Dodgers in the playoffs, baby. Want to know? Or the Reds. And Locked On Clippers, free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so we can get to 8,000 subscribers before the season starts. And of course, you can listen wherever you get your podcasts. The age-old proverb continues, go Clippers.